Capricorn, December 22nd, July 19th. The last Earth sign of the zodiac. Capricorn is represented by the sea goat, a mythological creature with the body of a goat and the tail of a fish. Accordingly, Capricorns are skilled at navigating both the material and the emotional realms. They scale the steepest mountains. Capricorn rules the knees, making it easier for this sign to climb, while simultaneously exploring their psychic strengths. Capricorns tap into their inner fortitude to overcome whatever stands between them and their long-term goals, and they don't let anything distract them from getting ahead. Because of their unwavering focus, however, they are often perceived as cold and unemotional. Sea goats must remember that not every success in life can be featured on a resume, and that compassion is as important as any professional advancement. Capricorn is ruled by taskmaster Saturn, the stoic planet that governs time and restrictions. Saturn transits always teach us tough lessons, and Capricorn is no stranger to growing pains. With Saturn guiding the Capricorn constellation, many sea goats were exposed to difficulties at an early age. Interestingly, Capricorns are said to age backward. Having already endured hardships, Capricorns become increasingly youthful, optimistic, and playful as they mature. Indeed, inside, every earnest Capricorn is a mischievous troublemaker. In tarot, Capricorn is symbolized by the Devil card. Though this Earth sign may seem a bit conservative and restrained at first, Capricorn's closest friends and lovers know that these sea goats love to party. A cardinal sign, Capricorn, is excellent at taking action and launching initiatives. Capricorn's can-do attitude leads to success in pretty much any industry. While they're terrific leaders, they must also be mindful of their workaholic tendencies. It's important for Capricorn to maintain a healthy work-life balance and avoid treating their friends and partners like their assistants. Resist the temptation to ask your partner to proofread that work email tonight, Cap, and connect with them on something other than what happened at the office. A brief history of the Capricorn zodiac sign. Those born between December 23rd and January 20th are known as Capricorn, the 10th sign of the zodiac, known for their steadfast natures and stubborn personalities. They are symbolized by the goat, ruled by Saturn, the Roman mythological equivalent of Kronos, father of Zeus. This sign is very strict indeed. Capricorn general myths and facts. Capricorn sits in the 270 to 300th degree in the zodiac between Sagittarius and Aquarius. It is the smallest and second dimmest constellation in the sky. The brightest star in it, Capricorni, or Deneb el-Gedi, roughly translates from Arabic to mean the tail of the goat. Capricorn is one of the oldest known constellations. Its depiction of a goat-fish hybrid, dating back to the Middle Bronze Age, before 1000 BC, it was written in Babylonian star catalogs as a goatfish. The constellation was a symbol of the Sumerian god Ea, or Enki, which some say loosely translated means Lord of the Earth. A brief history. The history of Capricorn astrology. In Greek mythology, a constellation is sometimes called Amalthea. This was the being that was considered a foster mother of sorts to infant Zeus for providing him with goat's milk, after Rhea, Zeus's mother, protected Zeus from being eaten by Kronos. Wait, wouldn't that imply that Jupiter was much smaller at one time? Others say Capricornus refers to Pan, the god with the goat's head. The goat horns is also known as the cornucopia, or horn of plenty. The Capricorn star sign has earth element and the cardinal modality. Capricorn falls at the beginning of winter, when the temperatures are dropping and the harsh weather is setting in. Those dealing with the transition must be active, hardy, resolute in their actions. So too is the person born under the Capricorn zodiac sign. They are ambitious, determined, and stubborn as a goat. They will do whatever it takes to get the job done, and they don't let anyone or anything stand in their way. It is a tough season to be born into, but they are tough people to cope with it. Capricorn's sun sign, personality traits. And they are strengths: responsible, disciplined, self-control, good managers. Weaknesses: know-it-all, unforgiving, condescending, expecting the worst. Capricorn likes family, tradition, music, understated status, quality craftsmanship. Well, Capricorn dislikes almost everything at some point. The sun in Capricorn are very grounded, practical, patient, resolute, and are always looking for the next level to achieve. Once you betray a Capricorn, they will never look back, no matter what. They make a great friend because they drive you home when you're drunk. It's always good to have one of them. Capricorn, I have a long memory, an evil streak, and a lot of patience. Remember that. The moon in Capricorn are well-rounded, rational, and practical people who always know what's best for them. Capricorn and Aquarius cusp. You are a deep person, insightful and visionary, but you are also generous, fun, and like to be around others. You love to entertain and are an excellent host. Success is likely working with the public. You are usually positive, but when things go wrong, you get bogged down with the negative. You are firmly loyal and are always ready to help your loved ones. In romance, you tend to settle for less. Ooh, sorry. Resourceful, cautious, cool under fire, tendency to be selfish, disciplined, strong ability to overcome hardships. Capricorn traits of tenacity, persistence, and determination will take them well ahead in life. The 3 Ds, I always remember that from an old baseball coach. Desire, determination, and dedication are the path to success. And here's some people are more trusting, but Capricorns are very cautious. They don't want or need anyone who is going to play with their emotions or waste their time. Pet peeves for the Capricorn: we don't like being ignored, standing too close, repeating ourselves, unannounced visitors, being second-guessed, touching our things without asking, loud people, unruly kids, liars, bad hygiene, nosy people, public embarrassment. Yeah, none of them sound too good on my list either. Personality traits that make up the ambitious sign. Well plus good. So Capricorns, typically of a serious nature, timid, shy, or sensitive as a child, responsible and practical, may tend toward questioning selves, focused on their goals, spends time managing assets, may have to overcome difficulties in life, can be self-destructive when insecure, needs a partner to protect them emotionally self-aware. Other astrology traits have become associated with Capricorns over the years, including the knees, bones, and skeleton for anatomy, lead for the metal, and brown for the color. The skeleton is what holds up the body. Rigidity perfectly represents the solid nature of those born under this sign. Lead is a highly dense metal and sturdy, while brown represents the color of the earth. Once all of the fall leaves have blown away, it is a desolate scene and a stark landscape, but one that people will work hard to get through so they can get back to the spring. Of course, they know they still have 2 more months to go, which is why they are so determined to make the best of their situation. With such a deep, dark history, it's easy to see why the sea goat are seen as the most serious of the zodiac signs, and their dry sense of humor matches the dry lands of winter before the snow falls. But if you want to survive a tough situation, go with a Capricorn. Shredding the past to make room for a revolutionary new age. Astrology 2020 is one of the most significant life-changing years in human history, astrologically speaking. Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto will form conjunctions in Capricorn for the first time in nearly 4,000 years, beginning a whole new age in humanity. This year presents profound shifts, as the planets insist that we release outward paradigms and beliefs, making room for an age of greater freedom, high-mindedness, truth, and egalitarianism. Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth. Saturn is systems, structures, society, and karma. Jupiter represents our beliefs, and he's a magnifying lens, exaggerating all that he touches. Joined together, these planets are speeding up our evolution, pushing us deeper insights and transformation, which come when we are able to face the reality of who we are, with honesty and forgiveness. We can own our mistakes, then drop into our inner stillness, peace, and fortitude that are available to us always. In fact, self-awareness and feeling at home within ourselves are key riding the waves of change. So much is upending as we experience little deaths throughout the year, but it's forcing us into the deep work of thinking for ourselves, finding our own ground, and trusting what we feel. Fear and shame have kept us oppressed and susceptible to manipulation. Now, we are rising out of these limiting habitations, breaking out of the conditioning that has kept us from freedom, liberation, and lasting joy. Interesting. Our shared reality is shaking up, and incredible work lies ahead. We need to rebuild our lives and the world with an open-hearted care and an understanding of our inner connection. It's time to muster the courage to confront and fight corruption and deception without hardening our hearts. The good news is that Jupiter and Saturn are in Capricorn and Aquarius this year, and the North Node will move into Gemini in the spring. Integrity, truth, and divine justice are ready to prevail. Karmic rectifications are upon us, and if we insist on lying, cheating, or harming others, our lives could explode. No matter what happens externally, we can feel the strength of our spines, our connection to the earth, and the tenderness of our hearts. This is the axis of transformation in 2020, our secret weapons as the planets strip us bare, trusting us into a fresh new year, decade, and age. 2021 aspiration. In this year of profound change, may we realize the past and step into our unknown future selves with compassion and intelligence. May we work together, taking responsibility of our lives, relationships, and communities, while dissolving the belief that someone else will save us. May we celebrate the dying parts of ourselves, which are making room for a fresh and liberated new paradigm. Key transits. Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter connections. Saturn-Pluto conjunctions form about once every 38 years, marking a powerful moment in the collective rebirth. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, representing systems, societies, and governments. So the Saturn-Pluto conjunction is particularly potent in this sign, sparking karmic explosions and massive restructuring in our personal lives and the collective sphere. Circumstances are arising to force us to work through and liberate from anything oppressive that's still holding us back, whether it's emotional patterns, addictions, or a culture that we've inherited. Throughout the rest of 2020, we will experience multiple conjunctions between Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter, helping us purify outmoded beliefs in order to establish new shared ideologies. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction on January 12th marks what many astrologies are calling the paradigm shift, beginning a new age in humanity. And the cosmology is going to be the electric universe, you know that. The last time even Saturn and Pluto conjoined in the sign of Capricorn was 1517 and 1518, beginning the Protestant Reformation, when Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses to the door of the church in his village, where he served as a priest. Luther's intention was to peel away corruption from monopolized power by showing that we could look to the Bible, not the Pope, as our ultimate governing force, and that we each have individual power to read and interpret Scripture, not just the Catholic priests. Now, we're moving into a similar time of individual liberation, when we're unshackling from steep hierarchy and oppression, finding access to our own wisdom and connections to the divine, without patriarchal intervention from any organized religion or abusive leader. I believe that. Intense conservatism often arrives around Saturn-Pluto transits, but it's the precursor to revolution. For those of us resisting change, frozen in fear of the unknown, our journeys will be painful. On the other hand, 2020 will alleviate iconoclasts rebels, and leaders of change, who are willing to buck against the oppression and the status quo. Interesting. When Jupiter and Saturn, forming a conjunction at 0 degrees Aquarius in December 2020, revolution and fresh egalitarian energies are on the horizon, in the world and within ourselves. But first, we have deep resistance to face, battles to fight with open hearts, and old karma to reckon with and transmute. We can celebrate the excitement of change as we look at the blank slate of what's to come, which we ourselves have the chance to discover, write, and create. The message is clear. No one else will save us. Lunar nodes move into Gemini and Sagittarius. After a 1.5-year stint along the Cancer-Capricorn axis, the lunar nodes shift into Gemini and Sagittarius, May 6th, 2020, that's a year ago now, where they will remain until January 18th, 2022. The North Node is our highest evolutionary potential. While in Cancer, we've grown into much greater emotional maturity over the past 18 months. Understanding that repression isn't sanity or strength. We don't need to pathologize our emotional expression. The Cancer North Node has empowered the feminine, helping to usher in a more matriarchal age. Saturn and Pluto's North Nodes are also in Cancer. I think what they mean by matriarchal age, though, would be more like being controlled a little more by the right brain instead of the left brain, which is supposedly the feminine side. And we're truly beginning to inhabit an area of greater kindness and caring. It does seem to me like that is true, where we prioritize relating to all beings as if they're our own mother or child over empty achievement or individual wealth. Now, with the North Node moving into Gemini, the emphasis is an objective truth. The South Node represents the places where we need to untangle from old karma in Sagittarius. This means the karmic load has become heavy around lying. Ooh, there's nothing worse than a liar. Deception and rigid dogmatic beliefs. Journalism, the media, and politics are ready to alter as we purify this exit and learn to open our minds to greater curiosity, meaningful dialogue, and much better ability to listen. Eclipses of 2020. 6 eclipses arrive in 2020 when there are normally just 4 a year. Eclipses bring great change, intensity, and sometimes chaos, speeding up our entry into new chapters and frequencies. With the eclipses falling along the Gemini-Sagittarius axis during the second half of the year, the political sphere is ramping up an even greater intensity, moving toward profound change. We are likely to experience a flurry of information and words that are difficult to sort through. However, as the nodes square Neptune for much of the year, our path is obvious. We need to strengthen our stillness and meditation, calling on our own heart and clear intelligence to uncover truth for ourselves. Venus and Mars in retrograde. Venus retrograde occurs in Gemini from May 13th to June 25th. Then Mars retrograde occurs in Aries from September 9th to November 14th. Venus is the planet of love, values, art, and the feminine, while Mars represents our carnal desires, anger, and masculinity. Our inner feminine and masculine are up for periods of reflection, review, and recalibration as love, dating, and sexuality shift into new iterations. With Venus in Gemini, just after the North Node moves into the same sign, communication is key. The feminine is supported in sharing her voice and stories more freely, and communicating without shame. Our values are orienting toward more objective truth and education, rather than cherry-picking facts that support our established narratives and prejudices. As Mars retrogrades, we're driving deep into our anger and sexuality. Might we ask, is our anger asking us to establish better boundaries? Is it stemming from unprocessed grief? Is our sexuality an expression of our fear, shame, traumas, or the need for dominance and control? Mars is forming important transits throughout the year, and we may experience necessary protests and expressions of anger from people who are fed up with oppression and witnessing the destruction of Earth for the sake of greed. But this time, our anger is not coming from mindless aggression, ego fortification, or machoism. It's coming from love. Yes, love. And anger for love is more like furious. Or, what's a good word? I heard it, I'm trying to remember it. Ferocious. That's love anger. Ferocious. Ghazal, a site named for a nearby spring, Ain, and situated along the edge of Wadi Zarba, was first discovered in 1974 when Jordanian road developers began building Army Street, the freeway connecting Amman and Zarqa. The site's significance was realized through a series of findings in the early 1980s. Ghazal is of great importance for the study of prehistoric human society. During more than 2,000 years of Neolithic occupation, approximately 7,500 to 5,000 BC, the inhabitants of this prehistoric village site cultivated crops. They're said to be 8,000 years old as it is, hunted, foraged, and also herded sheep and goats. The site saw changes in domestic architecture, stone tool technology, use of plaster and clay technology, and animal husbandry during its peak of occupation between around 7,200 and 6,500 BC. The inhabitants buried several plaster statues beneath the floors of houses and remains at the site. The excavation team uncovered several exquisite ritual artifacts, including clay figurines in the shape of animals and humans. I just think they look so cool. The latter considered to be some of the oldest sculptures of the human form in the Levant, interpreted as hunting and fertility amulets. These figurines provide insights into daily and ritual life of inhabitants of the Neolithic era Levant. And this would be, if this was going on, the time period I'm looking at is about 18,000 BC. That would have been the last age of Capricorn. So let's continue. Acor supported the excavations at 1982 to 1998. Well, they must have been pulling good stuff out of there. The greed knew no bounds. which were carried out under the direction of Gary O. Rolfson, then of San Diego State University, who received ACOR fellowships. Rolfson was joined by co-directors Zidane Kafafi of the Institute of Archaeology and Anthropology at Yarmouth University, and H. Stevens of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. The excavations at Ghazal, which ended in 1998, like I said, have provided meaningful evidence concerning the social organization and ritual behavior of Neolithic society in the Levant, as well as about developments in occupation resulting from environmental change, funded by an ACOR NEH fellowship in 2017-2018. Rolfson has also shown that areas east of Ghazal, which are now desert, were more lush in Neolithic times, supporting more vegetation, livestock, and human population. Who were these beings who visited prehistoric Jordan, a place at the crossroads of the oldest human cultures? The statues, along with two of the oldest temples in the world, dating back more than 8,000 years, were discovered during excavations at the Neolithic settlement Ghazal. Ghazal, in the vicinity of the modern capital of Jordan, Amman, in 1983. Mysterious, lifelike, nearly life-size plaster statues are in many ways anonymous. They lack human arms and typical indications of gender. Ghazal, a large village of farmers, herders, and hunters, is considered to be established around 7250 BC and later abandoned around 5000 BC. Archaeologists discovered evidence of multi-roomed houses made of stone with timber roof beams, plastered walls, floors, and courtyards. They also excavated cooking hearths with food remains, stone tools, stone and clay figurines, and graves. Ghazal was settled in about 7200 BC. In the Neolithic period, scholars divide this period into pre-pottery Neolithic, 9000 to 5500 BC, and pottery Neolithic, 5500 to 4000 BC. It flourished in the pre-pottery Neolithic for almost 2000 years. By 6200 BC, the settlement had grown to occupy nearly 40 acres, almost 4 times the size of contemporaneous Jericho. 30 miles away. Indeed, Ghazal was one of the largest cities in the Neolithic Near East. I think that the beings look very interesting, to say the least. In 1984, archaeologists examined the side of a bulldozer made some years earlier. During highway construction, they found the edge of a large pit about 2.5 meters under the surface, in which fragments of plaster statues were visible. The more than 30 human figurines recovered in the prehistoric village of Ghazal had several strange features. Almost none had both head and body. There were either bodiless heads or headless bodies. This practice is attested not only at Ghazal, but also at other sites in the southern Levant. All these figurines are created in clay containing limestone powder mixed with lime plaster. They are among the most ancient monumental artifacts ever found. Their size is varying from small, between 2 and 3 feet in height, to almost life-size figures. They have a certain look to them, almost like emotionless. The Smithsonian. Their large elliptical in shape eyes are unique, and small ears indicate that these are depictions of an unknown ancient race witnessed by the local population of prehistoric Jordan. Many fragments of these very ancient artifacts were out of place and badly damaged, and putting the statues back together was difficult and time-consuming. Sometimes the broken edges of two fragments could be easily matched, like the pieces of a puzzle. But the edges of many fragments were heavily eroded, and this was not always possible. In some cases, the reed or twine impressions preserved on the interior surfaces of the statues could be used to determine where joins should be made. Once joining fragments were identified, conservators used a special kind of adhesive to reattach them. Even after many months of careful work, the statues could not be completely put back together. Conservators filled in the gaps with dough made of acrylic resin, glass microballoons, and cellulose powder. Almost nothing is known about these mysterious statues and the Neolithic artist who made the statues as well. I'm just going around cherry picking what I can find about these creatures. I don't really know much about them. I have seen the figures before, but not in this detail.